Year 12s. In this video, we're going to review biochemical pathways and have a look at the link between those and what you need to understand about photosynthesis. So the key knowledge point that this stems from is the general structure of biochemical pathways, which we have looked at before, in photosynthesis and cellular respiration from initial reactant to final product. So we're putting that into context for photosynthesis today. You'll know that you're successful if you can explain what a biochemical pathway is, identify the inputs and outputs of the total pathway of photosynthesis. We're going to have a look at distinguishing between anabolic and catabolic reactions, and then classifying photosynthesis and respiration as either of those, and then describing the role of enzymes and coenzymes in the biochemical pathway. So hopefully these three words are quite familiar to you: reactants, products, and substrates. So reactants are the inputs to any chemical reaction. So if we look here at biochemical pathway number 1, the reactant here, is A. The final product is D. B is technically still a product of A, and it just means that there are a number of different steps along the way from A becoming D. E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they all represent some sort of enzyme. And you should know that, for example, if we look at enzyme 4, its substrate, the thing that it's acting upon, is J. The thing enzyme 5 is acting upon is K. And you'll see that pathway 1 simply changes from A to B to C to D. Pathway 2, the final product has two separate products. So rather than one going in and one coming out, there are two things coming out. So at some stage along the way, something is split for two smaller products to be made. Those three words should be in your glossary. So here is an example of an anabolic pathway. Anabolic is a word that should be in your glossary, and basically it's talking about when we're building things, we're creating something. Have a look at this reaction and see if you can classify it as either photosynthesis or respiration. Hopefully you are able to identify that that is photosynthesis. We are taking two really small molecules and making one big one. Yes, oxygen is also a byproduct that's made, but we are essentially putting together the carbons, the oxygens, and the hydrogens together to make one big glucose molecule. So photosynthesis is an anabolic pathway. A catabolic pathway is shown here. Have a guess whether you think it's photosynthesis or respiration, but hopefully you can identify that this is the exact opposite reaction. We're taking one really big molecule of glucose and breaking it up into carbon dioxide and hydrogen, and water, and that reaction there is cellular respiration. Now, both photosynthesis and respiration require the use of enzymes and coenzymes. So enzymes, that's something familiar to us. They're proteins that help to reduce the activation energy required for reactions to occur. So some of the enzymes that we'll come across when we look at photosynthesis and respiration is rubisco. That's a big one that's outlined quite clearly in the study design. Add it to your glossary now. ATP synthase, dehydrogenase, all of them are really important in allowing the cycles that we look at in photosynthesis and respiration to occur. Coenzymes are something that we brushed on last year in year 11, but we haven't, gone into too much detail. They're the non-protein components that are necessary for that enzyme activity to happen, help stabilize the enzyme. So you might remember these NADs and FADs from last year. They are all coenzymes, and basically they do allow for, hydrogen ions to be carried from one stage to the next, but they're all non-protein components that are essential for those enzymes to be able to do their job. So they're not a protein, they're a collection of atoms that make up some sort of compound that allow those enzymes to do their job. So you can see the example there in figure 3.16, that's straight from your textbook, showing the loaded and unloaded form of NAD. Basically, it's showing that this NAD here is picking up a hydrogen ion and coming out as NADH. It is carrying hydrogen from one stage to the next. That hydrogen is required for the protein at the next stage to do its job. So there's a list here of some of the key terms from this video. Please make sure that you add them to your glossaries.